We have a comment here. Let's see. Someone's asking, pick a flex, full point PPR, Chris Godwin, Wayne Gallman, Kenyan Drake, T.Y., Kittle, or Joe Mixon.
Wow.
I can't go with Kittle or Mixon because I don't know if either of them are going to play. In fact, Mixon should just be shut down if he hasn't been. I don't know why they're even trying to drag his fragile ass out there. Kittle, I feel like they're going to shut him down too. I mean, I know he's questionable and he's trying to come back for practice, but let's take those two out of it. I think you got to go with Chris Godwin here, strictly because he hasn't been getting as much love from Tom Brady recently as he should be. Okay. And they play Detroit, who is 29th. They're ranked 29th against the pass. We know Tom Brady's history and record in December. I got to go with Chris Godwin. He has been getting, not as many targets as you'd like to see, only 5 last week, 3 the week before. But we just had an Antonio Brown week. I think this shifts. I think we get a Chris Godwin week here. We haven't had a real Chris Godwin breakout since week 12 against Kansas City. I do like Wayne Gallman this week as well. So it is a full point PPR. For that reason, I got to go with Chris Godwin. You want to take a stab on that?
Personally, I don't like Gallman this week because I saw how the Ravens bottled up James Robinson last week. If it wasn't for that amazing over-the-shoulder catch for a touchdown, this fantasy week looks pretty bad. So by rule of elimination, yeah, Mixon's out, Kittle out. Kenyan Drake, Chase Edmonds kind of took over last week.
Yep.
Scared me a little bit there. I think the only real viable options are Chris Godwin and T.Y. Hilton. And I don't really trust Phillip Rivers. I trust Tom Brady more. So by default, I go with Chris Godwin.
There you have it. Chris Godwin out there for you, bud. All right. Our next topic that we're going to go with is called fantasy point props. So Zach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list, we'll do 6 fantasy point props where I'm going to list the projected points for these 6 players. And then I'm going to tell you if I think they're going to go over or under those fantasy points. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
All right. Our first player here, J.K. Dobbins, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. This is a full point PPR. All of these will be full point. He's projected 12.9 points against the New York Jets. I think that's just I think that's way, way, way too low, as he's had over that mark in all 4 of his last games where he's really started to get the ball and be the number 1 running back for the Ravens. Mark Ingram was a healthy scratch last week. I love J.K. Dobbins. This is another must-win game for the Ravens, like we've said. I think he goes well over 12.9 and scores another touchdown, which he's done in 4 straight games. Give me the sledgehammer, well over 12.9 fantasy points for J.K. Dobbins. Are you going to follow me or fade me here with my overall?
I'm going to follow you. Following that Mark Ingram healthy scratch last week, which really confused me. You're paying him good money. Why not have him just in case? He could do, a few third down snaps for pure experience. Don't really like that move by Harbaugh anyway, but JK's electrifying, man. You give him the ball. You expect him to get 5 yards. He stopped. He keeps moving his feet. He ends up for an 11-yard first down. For fantasy purposes, he's good catching the ball. He's good at the goal line. He's good from the 25 to the other 25. I like him over. He's just a great player.
Totally. Been saying it all year. Just give him the ball. It's really not that hard. And I don't even mind Mark Ingram being a healthy scratch. I know you said verbatim, $9 million is a lot for a cheerleader, and you're not wrong. But Mark Ingram doesn't need any more experience. He's got that experience. We overpaid for him. It's that simple. But maybe we didn't expect to get someone like J.K. Dobbins and have him perform like he has. So love J.K. Dobbins. Give him the ball, Harbaugh. Like, it's not that hard. We all know what he's capable of. All right. We're both hitting the over on J.K. Dobbins at 12.9 in a full PPR. Next player, Antonio Brown at the Detroit Lions. His projection in a full point PPR is 12.3. Again, I just think that number is way, way, way too low. He had a great game last week. He did catch that touchdown in the fourth quarter from Tom Brady. I think he goes over 12.3 just because we know he's going to get at least 5 to 8 targets. He's had 5 catches in back-to-back weeks. Detroit's soft, and Tampa Bay needs another win. We've already talked about how good Tom Brady is. I think there's room for Godwin, Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown this week. Give me the over on a measly 12.3 for Antonio Brown in a full point PPR. Fade or follow, Zach?
I'm going to have to fade this one, not because I don't like the Bucs matchup or because I don't like Antonio Brown. I just think there's too many mouths to feed. And Antonio Brown kind of got more looks than Chris Godwin did last week. So maybe they try to get Chris Godwin in more. I don't think Mike Evans had a touchdown yesterday, did he?
Did not.
So, yeah, maybe they look to him more in the goal line. Also, they were trying to get the ball to Gronk. Gronk was able to draw 2 pretty good pass interference penalties down in the red zone. Maybe they get him a touchdown. I think Antonio Brown has the possibility to play well, but I think Tom's going to spread it out too much, and they'll rely on Rojo and Leonard Fournette to run the ball as well because the Lions suck against the run. So I see him having under 12.6.
All right, so Zach is fading me here. He's going under 12.3 for Antonio Brown. This is a full point PPR. Brave, but got to take those shots. All right, next one. Logan Thomas, tight end for the Washington football team, at home versus the Carolina Panthers. His projection is 12.5. This dude had 13 receptions for over 100 yards last week with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. There's no reason why they would move away from Logan Thomas. Give me the over, crushing that over on 12.5. I mean, he might have another 10 receptions here. So give me the over, 12.5 for Logan Thomas. Fade or follow, Zach?
I'm going to follow. Unfortunately, in my fantasy semifinal, I was playing against Logan Thomas, and I had started Terry McLaurin. So that was a little disappointing to see him kind of be a target hog over Terry. But yeah, I don't see him going away for it. He's been dependable, whether it's Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins. And he's really kind of making a name for himself in the NFL. So I like follow.
Yep. All right. So we're both on there. Over 12.5 for Logan Thomas. He had 15 targets last week. I mean, you love that. That's Waller volume. Yeah, really. And Carolina is a bottom 10 defense against tight ends. So we're both hitting the over on Logan Thomas. All right, those were 3 overs. So I'm going to take 3 unders now. All right. The first one is Big Ben Roethlisberger at home against the Indianapolis Colts. This is a must-win for both teams. And Big Ben's projection is 18.5 points. I got to take the under here. I mean, we just haven't seen anything exciting from Big Ben. Like I said, he is only throwing 5 to 10 yards down the field. They have no running game, so we know everyone knows what they're going to do. He's thrown an interception in each of the last 5 games, 6 interceptions in those 5 games. And he hasn't gone over 18.5 points since week 10 against Cincinnati, where he had his best game of the year. Colts defense hasn't been as good as they were to begin the season, but they're still very solid. I love Darius Leonard leading that defense as the middle linebacker. Give me the under on 18.5 for Big Ben. I just don't see him getting anything going. I don't see the Steelers winning another game this season, let alone in the regular season. I think they lose to the Colts this week. I think they lose to the Browns in week 17. And then I think they get their ass absolutely kicked in the first round of the playoffs. That's just me. Under for Big Ben, 18.5. Zach, fade or follow?
I've been a Ravens fan too long to think that Tomlin and Big Ben are just going to keep getting their ass whooped for the rest of the season. Fair. Too good of a quarterback, too good of a coach, and too kind of rambunctious a culture of a team. That defense flies around, and I think they have the opportunity to make a lot of big plays. And like I said, they didn't cause any turnovers against Ryan Finley when they were the leading team in terms of turnover differential in the NFL. So I expect them to force turnovers, give Ben good field position, and I could easily see him getting 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, which would put him over 18 or right at 18. So I'm going to take fade. I think he'll get above.
So Zach's taking the over on Big Ben 18.5. I'm taking the under. You mentioned how good of a quarterback he is, and sure, but this is a guy who the first 7, maybe 9 weeks of the season, maybe the first 10 weeks, we were talking about a possible MVP candidate in Big Ben Roethlisberger. But that conversation has completely died over the last 5 weeks, where he has, like I said, had an interception in all 5 of those games. The Pittsburgh Steelers have dropped 3 of those 5. Sure, they beat the Lamar Jackson-less Ravens, and they beat, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since then, though, they really can't get anything going on offense. That's my reason for going under with Big Ben. You're taking the over. We'll see how that works out. Our next one, Kenyan Drake at home against San Francisco at 14.3 fantasy points in a full point PPR. I'm going under here. I mean, like you said, it's really like I've been saying all year that Chase Edmonds is just better as far as the eye test goes. He looks like a better player. He's more explosive. He's faster. He has better hands out of the backfield. And I think we're starting to see that. I think Cliff Kingsbury is starting to realize that more. Kenyan Drake only had 10 carries last week for 2.6 yards per carry. That's terrible. He only had 6 fantasy points last week. San Francisco, they have a pretty solid defense. I mean, no Nick Bosa, unfortunately, but still, they're getting out there. They're doing what they can. They're a pretty tough run defense. I do not like Kenyan Drake this week or next week for that matter. I'm going under 13 or 14.3 fantasy points for Kenyan Drake. Fade or follow, Zach?
I'm following you. Kenyan Drake's been probably one of the biggest fantasy busts of the season.
Yeah.
And more and more you start to see Chase Edmonds have flash plays. If you look from across the season, there's a lot of big splash plays that Chase Edmonds has provided where you look, well, maybe they have to get him more opportunities. And I think we're starting to see that over the past few weeks. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I am fading Kenyan Drake, but following you.
Fair enough. So we're both on the same page there. Kenyan Drake, boo. All right, the final fantasy prop bet that we're going to do is a little guy called Robbie Anderson. I mention a little guy because the guy who does in our video team, he's our video editor. He's not very familiar with the NFL or with players, but he's looking up, I guess, footage of Robbie Anderson, and he messaged me and said, "This guy is way too skinny to be in the NFL. He's got to be fast, right?" And that was just funny. Yeah, he is fast, and that's about all he is fast. And he does have pretty decent hands, but against the Washington football team, I mean, he only had 2 receptions last week for 21 yards. He has been pretty disappointing. At least last week he was for the fantasy semifinals. I got to go under Robbie Anderson on 13.6. I just doubt he gets another 7 targets this game. I think it's going to be all DJ Moore and even Christian McCaffrey. If he plays, watch out for that. It will be all McCaffrey if he's in. I'm going under Robbie Anderson, 13.5. Zach, fade or follow?
Yeah, Robbie Anderson's a guy who started off the year really hot, and people were talking about, wow, he's kind of taken DJ Moore's spot. Where if you look at, since week 6, really DJ Moore has stood out as the wide receiver threat down in Carolina. So I don't see that slowing down. And I know Teddy Bridgewater does like Robbie Anderson, obviously. If McCaffrey's back, I think that actually bodes well for Robbie Anderson. Maybe they focus more on CMC, open it up a little bit for him. But Panthers haven't been a great team. Anderson hasn't really flashed lately. I'm following you, taking the under on Robbie Anderson.
All right. So 4 out of 6, you're following me. The 2 fades, we'll see how that works out. Zach, thank you so much for joining me.
Touchdown!